Hello dear students. In today's video, we will learn about fractions. What is a fraction and how to represent a fraction on the number line. So what is a fraction? Fraction means a part of the whole. Let's take an example. Consider an apple as a whole. Now, if you give half of this apple to your sister, then half of the apple remains with you. And each of this part is called fraction. Fraction is written in the form of numerator upon denominator. Also, we can call it n by d. So what is the denominator? It is total number of equal parts the whole is divided into. So in the example of apple, denominator would be 2, as the apple was divided into 2 equal parts. Now, what is the numerator? The numerator represents the number of equal parts considered in a fraction for a particular case. In the same example, the numerator would be 1. So our fraction would be 1 by 2. I think you have now got the idea of what a fraction is. Now, let's discuss the types of fractions. Proper fractions. The fractions in which the numerator is less than the denominator are called proper fractions. For example, 0 by 2, 1 by 4, 2 by 5, 3 by 7, 81 by 100, etc. All proper fractions are less than 1. Improper fractions. The fractions in which the numerator is greater than or equal to the denominator are called improper fractions. For example, 6 by 6, 7 by 4, 21 by 20, 121 by 100, etc. All improper fractions are greater than or equal to 1. Mixed numbers. A mixed number has two parts, a whole number part except 0 and a part with a fraction. For example, 2 and 1 by 2,
3 and 1 by 5,
6 and 1 by 3, 5 and 1 by 100 are all mixed numbers. Unit fractions. A fraction whose numerator is 1 and the denominator is greater than 1 is called a unit fraction. For example, 1 by 8, 1 by 3, 1 by 5, etc. Like fractions, fractions that have the same denominator are called like fractions. For example, 8 by 12, 7 by 12, 17 by 12, 23 by 12, etc. Equivalent fractions. Consider the following fraction bars. Fractions that name the same part of the whole are called equivalent fractions. If you look carefully at these figures given alongside, you will notice that the same part of the rectangle is shaded. That is, 1 by 4 of the big rectangle is shaded. Thus, the fractions 1 by 4, 2 by 8 and 3 by 12 name the same amount. Therefore, 1 by 4, 2 by 8 and 3 by 12 are equivalent fractions, and we write 1 by 4 is equal to 2 by 8 is equal to 3 by 12. Writing a fraction in its simplest form. A fraction is in its simplest form when its numerator and denominator have no common factors other than 1. Fractions such as 1 by 2, 3 by 5 and 5 by 8 are all fractions in their simplest form. In 1 by 2, there is no common factor of 1 and 2 except 1. Likewise, the only common factor of 3 and 5 and 3 by 5 is 1, and of 5 and 8 in 5 by 8 is also 1. The fraction 10 by 15 is not in its simplest form because 5 is a common factor of both 10 and 15. Similarly, 3 by 21 is not in its simplest form because 3 is a common factor of both 3 and 21. Let's look at addition and subtraction of fractions. Firstly, we will discuss how to add or subtract like fractions, that is, fractions with the same denominator. When we add or subtract fractions with the same denominator, we just add or subtract the numerators and keep the denominator same. For example, let's add 3 by 5 and 1 by 5. Here, 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. Denominator will remain 5 and answer will be 4 by 5. Similarly, subtracting 7 by 11 and 5 by 11, we will get 2 by 11. Now, let's look at how to add or subtract unlike fractions. We will try to learn this with an example. Ravi and Nisha are painting a wall. Ravi painted 1 by 2 of the wall and Nisha painted 1 by 4 of the wall. What part of the wall did they paint all together? Here, wall painted by Ravi is equal to 1 by 2. Wall painted by Nisha is equal to 1 by 4. So total part of the wall painted is equal to 1 by 4 plus 1 by 2. To add these, first change one or both of the fractions to fractions having common denominator. Here, 1 by 2 can be written as 2 by 4. Now, 1 by 4 and 2 by 4 are like fractions. Adding these two, we will get 3 by 4 by the same rule we used to add like fractions. Therefore, 3 by 4 part of the wall was painted by Ravi and Nisha. Rule: when we add fractions with different denominators, we change the fractions to fractions having the same denominator. This common denominator is the least common denominator of the given fractions. What is meant by least common denominator? Study these two rows of fractions given below. Here, 1 by 6 can be written as 2 by 12 if we multiply both numerator and denominator by 2. Further, 1 by 6 can also be written as 3 by 18 and so on. Similarly, 3 by 4 can be written as 6 by 8, 9 by 12, 12 by 16 and so on. If we closely observe both the series, the numbers 12, 24 and 36 are some of the common denominators of 1 by 6 and 3 by 4. Of these, 12 is the least common denominator. Also, we can see that 12 is the LCM of 6 and 4. Thus, the least common denominator of two fractions is the same as the least common multiple of their denominators. To add or subtract unlike fractions, write the given fractions as equivalent fractions with the least common denominator, LCM, of the denominators, and then add or subtract like fractions. Multiplication of fractions. Multiplying fractions and whole numbers. Let's look at an example. Multiply 1 by 4 and 3. Here, simply multiply the numerators and the denominators. Hence, 1 by 4 multiplied by 3 by 1 as 3 can be written as 3 by 1. So the answer becomes 3 by 4. Now, let's see multiplication of a fraction by a fraction. Multiply 1 by 2 and 8 by 12. Simply multiplying numerator and denominator, we get 1 by 2 times 8 by 12. It becomes 4 by 12 or 1 by 3. Division of fractions. Rule: multiply the dividend by the reciprocal of the divisor. It means reverse the numerator and denominator of divisor and multiply it with dividend. For example, divide 8 by 9 and 1 by 9. We will reverse 1 by 9 here to 9 by 1. Then multiplying it with 8 by 9, we get 8 by 1 or 8. This reverse of any fraction is called reciprocal or multiplication inverse. Now let's see how we can compare fractions. Firstly, we will be comparing fractions with like denominators. Let's understand this with an example. For a singing competition, 6 by 15 of the children are girls and 9 by 15 are boys. Whose number is greater in the competition? Of boys or of girls? Answer: we have to compare 6 by 15 and 9 by 15. We can use two ways to compare them and then state a general rule. Method 1. Comparing pictorially. Here, we can see that on comparing the shaded parts, 9 by 15 is greater than 6 by 15. Hence, the number of boys is more. Method 2. Comparing on number line. Here, 9 by 15 is to the right of 6 by 15. Therefore, 9 by 15 is greater than 6 by 15. Rule: if two or more fractions have the same denominator, the fraction with the greater numerator is the greater number. Example: 6 by 7 is greater than 5 by 7, or 5 by 7 is less than 6 by 7. Now, Let's compare fractions with unlike denominators. Let's look at another example. Which is greater, 1 by 3 or 2 by 5? Pictorially, 1 by 3 and 2 by 5 can be compared as method 1. Here, on comparing the shaded parts, you can see that 2 by 5 is greater than 1 by 3. Using the tuned method, comparing fractions on a number line, you can see that 2 by 5 is on the right of 1 by 3. Hence, 2 by 5 is greater than 1 by 3 or 1 by 2 is less than 2 by 5. We hope that you have understood the topic. You can now study chapter notes, watch video lectures, and solve MCQ tests of this chapter on EduRev to ensure you score well in your school exams. And that's not all. You also get amazing courses for maths, science, English, Hindi, and much more for class 5th. Thank you.